Okay, we're live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I'm going to cover a book that was just published. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see the book title. It's Gunbarrels and Backroads, Shootouts, Addiction, and the Long Ride to Prison. And the author's name is Michael Fogt. I think that's how you pronounce it, Fogt. But he is in prison, and he had a remarkable life of, I would say, violence, a very violent past and existence. So I'm unable to talk with him, but I do have his editor. Her name is Jenny Perry, Perry, and she's been kind enough to set aside some time and talk about the book so we can kind of promote it and talk about this kind of story, a true crime story that oftentimes isn't told from the perspective of the criminal, not somebody who is actually writing about crime as a third party, but live that kind of life, this very hard life, biking, shootouts, like you said, and addiction. But Jenny can talk more about that. So Jenny, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
For people who may not have heard your name, may not be familiar with this book, it just was published. In my understanding, the publication date was, just May 12th, 2026. So fairly recently. Maybe you could talk about how this book came about and how you got involved in now editing and now promoting the book.
Well, I'm going to start out with a little bit of my background because I think that will give people perspective as to why I did this. I worked in the correctional system in Ohio for 10 years. I was a GED teacher there. So, how do I put this? I was around the criminal element. It was a closed security prison with the worst of the worst. My son got into some trouble and ended up in prison, and he ended up being in the same unit as Michael, and they look like brothers. It's really amazing. But Michael got to talking with my son John, and he was talking about how he wanted to write this book. It was something that his mother had always said that he should do. And so they just got to talking. And my son, bless his heart, said, well, my mom was a teacher for 30 years and she could help you with this because she doesn't have much to do. Which I was like, okay. My husband has dementia, so I am home pretty much all the time. So I got to talking with Michael, and I said, well, I'm not sure. I was a math person, not a literary person. And I said, I'm not sure what I can do, but let's see how it goes. The biggest hurdle we had was getting the information from him to me. He wrote a few letters giving me some information, but I could barely read his writing. So they have a GTL messaging app where you can text inmates and they can text you. And so that's where it all started. Michael started texting me, and I would take his information, transfer it over to a Word doc, and then I'd just start editing it. Michael, he's a wonderful person, believe it or not, even though he is a serial killer. But he has a tendency to start one subject, then go to another subject, then come back to the original subject. And that's kind of the way he wrote it. So it was my job to kind of coordinate and organize. And that's where I came in.
Gotcha. So you were almost like his stenographer in a way. So he was texting you and telling you all this information.
Yes, you could say that. Absolutely.
So your son, is he out of that prison now, or is
he gets out in December?
Gotcha. So this whole situation, say his last name for me. How do you pronounce it?
Michael Fogt.
Fogt. Okay, so it is.
Yes.
He had a very violent childhood and a very violent life. Like, this is really a story of somebody grew up in extreme violence. Can you talk about that?
Yes. He did. His father was very abusive from the time he was born, practically. And
That was 1964, right?
right. And he was abusive to his sister, Michael's sister. And he had several broken bones caused by his father. And as he got older, he got to the point where he realized that his father was being abusive. I don't think he really recognized it initially because he was so young and it was just his life. And as the book indicates, Michael kind of took care of that in his own way, and it did stop. But he was much, much older when this situation occurred, and I don't want to give away anything in the book as to what he did.
Right, but he knew he had a violent life, and he was kind of attracted to that life. Like he said, he was abused for like 14 years. Like that's
yes,
broken neck.
And I think that's what led him to join the Iron Horsemen. It's kind of like any person who joins a gang. They want to feel that belonging, that need that someone else needs them. Michael never had that growing up. And I think that is really what prompted him to want to join the Iron Horsemen, to have that fellowship.
The fellowship, and kind of like a rough kind of person like him too, maybe that he
absolutely yes.
And he joined it at kind of a fairly young. I mean, this is a timestamp too, back when these biker gangs, these violent biker gangs, were much more prevalent. Now they're kind of like retirees who dress up, but back in the day they were really notoriously violent. I don't know if they're as violent these days.
Yeah, I don't think so much, and I don't think they're as organized now. Where
this is like Hell's Angels, the Mongols, they're just really tough customers, tough people.
And back then they were very violent. He was in constant shootouts against rival gangs. And
he's a big guy too, right? I mean, he said
he is.
Yeah, he's over 300 pounds.
Oh yeah, now he is. Yes, he is wheelchair bound. His health is not good, and so I really feel like I was lucky enough to be able to know Michael and to be able to help him with this book. And the one thing I really like about the book is when I did my editing, I tried so hard to use his words.
Right.
And I think the book comes out that way. I know I've had several people say, well, it's almost like sitting in a bar with him, having a conversation.
Right, and he uses the terminology of a biker, like patches. These are all important, and the nicknames.
Yes.
And the knowledge of motorcycles and the life in bars and things like that. Like
absolutely, yes, he does.
He's been shot. He has been shot multiple times, but he also became kind of like the tough guy amongst all the tough guys, right? The enforcer.
Yes. And he was really one of the youngest people that the Iron Horsemen brought in as a member. And I think it's because he wasn't afraid during the shootouts. He'd just shoot back, where some may not do that initially. But Mike was always right in there with that violence.
Right, Uzis and all kinds of guns and weapons. And
yes, constant,
just constant competition and violence and stuff like that. And it just escalated over time. But he also was involved in addiction too, right? And pills and things like that.
Yes, he was very. Yeah, he was very addicted. Well, they sold a lot of drugs across the country. And when you have that much access to it, you're more than likely to become addicted to it. And it took him a long time to recognize his addiction, I think. And part of that addiction attributed to part of his violence.
Right. And it was like a lot of drugs, like OxyContin and stuff like that. So opiates and things like that.
Yeah,
too.
you name it, he's done it.
Right.
Yes.
And trafficking. So he's moving this stuff too,
Yes.
right? Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
I think most of that was to ingratiate himself more into the Iron Horseman. And the money was good. He loved having the money.
Right.
He was able, with this money, he was able to buy himself a home, motorcycles, you name it, he had it because he had a lot of money from selling these drugs.
Right. So he's in drug sales, violence, and but also, was he just mostly operating in Ohio, or was he moving around in different?
Oh, no, he was moving around in several states. New York, New Orleans. I'm trying to think of all the places he's talked to me about. But yeah, it's several different states. Kentucky.
Right. And so then eventually, like when did you talk about his arrest and his conflicts with the law?
Well, he had been arrested several different times before the murder charge. I know his wife, with whom he did finally kill, she had put a rape charge on him, and he got out of that. He'd been arrested a few times for narcotics. He always seemed to get out of those one way or another. And finally, it got to the point where he was tired of living the life. And the circumstances behind the two murders that he talks about in the book, and the other murders that he doesn't talk about, he just got tired of the life. And when they discovered the second victim, and he was arrested for murder for her, that's when he told them about his wife.
Gotcha. And so this was, but he was also, he had interesting attorneys too. Didn't he have the attorneys for the Kehoe brothers? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Can you talk about that?
The initial woman that he had, I can't remember her name. This was her first murder case. And that's when I think he was affiliated with the Kehoe brothers lawyers, because in this area, him being arrested and the murders that he was involved in was a big deal. It was very publicized. And so I think that's one reason why some of the hotshot lawyers wanted to get in on the deal, was because of the publicity.
Interesting. What was his trial like?
Well, I don't think it was very long. Well, actually, let me go back here. He never had a trial because he admitted to the two murders that is discussed in the book. He admitted to them. And he also got immunity on a third murder so that he could get some time off of his girlfriend's sentence. Now, what she was in for initially, I don't know. But she had like 50 years and he had got like 25, 30 years off of her sentence by giving up this body. because they had not found the person who had killed Niehaus. And so he gave up Niehaus in order to help his girlfriend. But he had immunity for Niehaus. Yeah.
He also rode with like the Iron Horsemen, some very tough people as well. Isn't that right?
Oh, absolutely.
Can you talk about that?
He was very close to many of the brothers in the Iron Horsemen. They did a lot of criminal things together. And again, I think it was mostly because he felt like he belonged to something, and that made him feel important about himself and gave him some self-esteem. And I think too, because of his background and the violence that he had his entire life, also contributed to him going in that direction.
Right. So he had a lot of violence, a lot of drugs and drug use, like heavy drug using. Like,
yes.
It's not like a joke. So he's currently a lifer in jail, and he's been in jail for 20 years. Like he went into prison.
Yes.
2005, right?
Right. That is correct.
Can you talk about his prison time?
Well, he started out in a maximum security prison. And the way the prison system works is if you don't have any conduct reports, negative conduct reports, you get programming, then your level 3 status can be moved up to a level 2. And so he moved around from several different prisons just because of him being in so long and him in decreasing, I guess, his level that they have in prison. They have 4 levels. And he started out as a 3, and he was there for a very long time because of his crimes. But then he's now a level 1 after all these years because of all the programming that he has taken. He's not been violent at all in prison. Not at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting on his part. Prison just kind of made him sit up and think, I don't want that life anymore.
And he's literally like riddled with bullets and buckshot, stuff like that.
Yes, he still has a bullet in his back. He now has chronic health problems. He's on 24-hour oxygen. He can't walk now because of the injuries, previous injuries. And the medical system and the prison system isn't the greatest. The Ohio law says that they only have to give you adequate medical care. And that adequate medical care is determined by the prison system.
Gotcha.
So he's in constant pain, and they will not give him any kind of pain medication. He was supposed to have an MRI to see what was going on with his spinal cord and the bullet that was back there. That's where a lot of his pain is coming from. Well, the prison system decided that he didn't need one. And so he's battling a lot of physical issues now that he's older.
And he was featured in a episode of the Killer Speaks, right? The Evil Lives Here, Killer Speaks. Is that true?
Yes, that is true. It was in the first episode of the Killer Speaks. And I have to say, I watched it and I was a little disappointed because they didn't really talk to Michael all that much. They talked to his daughter. And a lot of what she said just was not true. Michael said that didn't happen. She said that she was in, Michael put her in the bathroom because there was a shootout at the house. And Michael said that just didn't happen. That was not true. And we kind of felt like maybe the production people wanted it to sound more, I don't know, horrifying than what it really was.
Right. It wouldn't be the first time that
Exactly.
producers or something like that have magnified certain things to make the story sound better, so to speak. But it is interesting that he's kind of featured in there.
Yes.
I mean, how does he really? Do you really think that he's a serial killer?
Yes.
How many people do you think that Fogt is?
Probably 30 to 40 people.
Wow.
Because he worked for the mob. But he was only convicted of the 2.
Right.
You know, it only takes 1 to get life.
Right. So, I mean, to talk about his working for the mob and what was that like?
Well, he doesn't talk a whole lot about that simply because he doesn't want them investigating more of the murders that he might have possibly done due to the fact that they could put him on death row.
So he's concerned about going to death row.
Yes. That's
Did he
why
have a contact in the mafia? So he traveled around the country committing these crimes for the mafia. Is that correct? Okay. So.
Yes.
But he was central. He lived in Ohio, though, right? Is that correct?
Yes. He did.
Gotcha. And that's how he made money, was dealing drugs and being a hitman. Is that right?
Correct. And they stole a lot of other things like motorcycles and refrigerators and stoves and stuff like that too, minor stuff. But he mostly got it from his drugs and from his other dealings.
It's interesting. And he's kind of like these people hanging out in bars and strip joints and things like that too.
Well, all of his girlfriends and the love of his life, they were all strippers. His wife was a stripper and a prostitute.
Right, so that was his life. And he had a nickname Malfunction, right? How did he get his nickname?
He got his nickname because when he first went into the Iron Horseman, he didn't have a lot of money. He didn't have the best in motorcycles, and his was always breaking down. They'd go somewhere and it would break down, or he would go over to the clubhouse and his motorcycle wouldn't work. So they started calling him Malfunction.
Gotcha. And what's on his horizon? Is this he's done? This is going to be his first book and then be done, or what?
Well, we've talked about that because he's got a multitude of stories. These were only a minor few. He knows a lot of people. He's done a lot of things with these people. And the book only touches on a few. So, he had some family down in the Appalachian Mountains. He used to go down there in the summertime and they make moonshine. So he's got a lot of stories about that. And we've talked about doing another book, talk about possibly doing one about his 20 years in prison, because he's been through a lot and he's been to a lot of different prisons.
So they've moved him around. I mean, so he's not only, I know he signed off the book from, I think
he's at Pickaway.
Pickaway, yeah, that's right. There's a lot of pictures in the back of the book too.
Yeah.
There he is, Mr. Malfunction. Well, I thought I had. He did sign it off somewhere. I'm trying to find it, but it is. He's had a very interesting life. When he was in his prime, he was still a big guy too, though, right? Like
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
large, big person. I actually see an advertisement for the real Mr. Big in this book too, which I also interviewed Ron Chepasik about it. Actually interviewed them both if you want to check that out. So this is another great book from
The Wild Blue Press.
Wild Blue Press. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Where can people find the book?
Well, the easiest way to do it is to go on your Amazon and put in Michael Fogt in the search engine, and it comes right up.
Right. So it's Fogt. So it's really his story, but you were just like I said, the scrivener or the person who wrote everything down and put it into book form. But it's pretty rough. He lived a very rough life from beginning to the present. Like, wow.
Yes.
There it
Yes.
is. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. Mr. Malfunction, Michael D. Fogt, A509509, PCI, Orient, Ohio.
Yes.
So I guess that's in the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
So it's available on Amazon, Kindle, audiobook, paperback, cover, hardback, and you can hear his story on the Killer Speaks too, which I think
Yes.
has done very well.
Yes.
It's interesting that he was willing to talk about that one crime, I guess. In addition to if he's involved in 30 or 40 killings, that is a very
yes.
intense amount of
Yes.
violence.
And the only reason why they took him off of death row was when he gave up the third body. That was one of the stipulations of his immunity for that body, was that he would not be put on death row.
Gotcha.
And one of the things I would really like to say is when I think of Michael, I don't think of him as a serial killer. But other people, when they read this book, they're going to go, oh my gosh, he must be a horrible person. And really, he's not. And he wants people to read the book and to realize that killers are made. They're not born. Michael wasn't born a killer. But as you go through his life, you could certainly understand why he was.
I mean, just a terrible, terrible childhood. Beaten, broken neck, eye socket. Like those aren't slaps or something. There's like super violence and a lot
exactly. Yes.
Emotional violence. So if you endure that for over a decade, it's
Michael is still in therapy.
Oh, interesting. So,
with the psychologist there at the prison. And I think he probably always will be, because of all of the emotional distress that he still carries, even though he's been in prison for 20 years.
I believe it. He has a kind of street intelligence too. Like that's probably why he survived, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
He has a kind of like a knowledgeable of his environment. Like he actually had good grades in school. Like he writes in his book, he had a 3.75 GPA. Yes. So he just went down a darker path. But he might have been, he could have been, just lived a middle class life without all that violence.
Being a productive citizen. Michael is very smart. Very smart. And we talk almost every night, and he always comes up with some story that I've never heard of before.
Interesting.
He's very interesting character. He really is. And he's a really nice guy, very sincere. He's very loyal. And
he has good qualities, but he also is super violent. It's interesting. Do you think that maybe these guys, when they're in jail, they just adapt to like an environment where they don't have to be violent? Do you think that's fair to say?
I think so.
Violence was part of his survival mechanism.
Yeah, because when he went to prison, he was just done. He was just done with that life. And unfortunately, he had to go to prison for that to occur.
Jenny, where can people find you? I mean, if they're interested in,
Oh,
do you have contact information?
all I have is a Gmail.
Would you like to share that?
Sure, it's Jenny Perry 124 at
At
gmail.com.
gmail.com if people want to reach out to you. Is there
Yes.
anything you'd like to add or anything I missed before we wrap up the conversation?
Well, again, I think that people need to read this book with an open mind and an understanding that violence begets violence. And to get out of that is very, very difficult. As we all know, many people do not. And Michael just got to the point where I'm done. I'm guilty of killing my wife. I'm guilty of killing my tenant. And send me to prison because I deserve it.
Yeah, it's a different true crime book, like somebody who's really writing from their perspective. It's like I said at the beginning, it's usually some third party or somebody writing about somebody else, but this is it's a different take on these types of characters who are out there, guys. These people are, for however you judge them, they are out there, and they used to be more common. Like, there were biker bars and really tough guys, really, really, really tough, violent people. I think he was just part of that group. That's where he felt more comfortable. But I appreciate your time, Jenny. Again, the editor's Jenny Perry, but the author is Michael Fogt, who's in jail, and the title of his book is Gunbarrels and Backroads: Shootouts, Addiction, and the Long Ride to Prison. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, let's do that. Okay.